The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction, first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full, scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Well, congratulations, New York, on this Wednesday night. You have officially been duped. Zohran Mimdani, we've been talking about this for a long time, people. And look, I know a lot of people listening here are saying, I didn't vote for him, don't blame me. Well, the turnout still wasn't all that great in this particular election. And we had a situation here where you know that a communist is running to be mayor of what was once considered the greatest city in the world, the city that never sleeps, the Big Apple. And 25 years after 9/11, you allow this anti-Semite, this person who has aligned himself with many people, including people in his own cabinet, who don't have the nicest things to say about Jews. Well, we'll put it lightly there, who probably think that America is a very bad place and they're here to right these wrongs. Well, that's one thing. It's another thing altogether when this guy sold you a bill of goods, literally, on city-run grocery stores, on having free childcare for all in New York. Great job, New York media, by the way. You're supposed to be so tough. You didn't lay a glove on this guy. You allowed him to skate and smile his way out of everything. Communism with a smile. And now he wants a lot more money to pay for things like free busing. And if he doesn't get it from Kathy Hochul in Albany, the governor, well, there's only one group of people left to pay: you, the taxpayer. And the fact that he is basically saying, I want to do all this great stuff, but I have no choice but to raise taxes to pay for all that great stuff that I never had a plan to pay for in the first place. Well, we're just going to play what's called a then and now here. Then what Mimdani promised on all those very slick social media videos that got him on the cover of Time magazine and had folks swooning. Is it swooning? Swooning. I don't use that word very often. On CNN and MSNBC. That's what called swooning. Here's cut number one. Then and now, Mimdani. Congratulations once again. Go.
It's true. As your next mayor, I will freeze your rent.
Paid for by Zohran for NYC.
In order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes.
Boy, that rainy day came in a big hurry, didn't it? I mean, wow, we're only, let's see, inaugurated January 1st, now February 18th, 31 plus 18 is 49, 7 weeks in. And we're already hitting the rainy day fund. As if this guy's a victim of just didn't know what what that budget was, what it looked like, that big shortfall that we have in terms of billions of dollars, thanks to de Blasio. Eric Adams didn't do too much better. And now Mimdani is going to make both of our past mayors look competent. You will yearn for the de Blasio days, which is really saying something. It's like yearning for the day you got a root canal and they ran out of Novocaine. Like that's what that is like rooting for. And Mimdani, it's just unbelievable. This guy, again, let's play it, cut 7, because he thinks he's in the right here as far as being on a higher moral pedestal because he's not getting everything that he wants because God forbid you cut spending in certain places to pay for other things. It's called doing a budget. And this privileged kid has never done anything resembling a budget in his life. His parents are rich. He grew up in a very nice compound, got married, just last year, multi-million-dollar compound in Uganda. Not too many of those there. This guy, in his 34 years, has never run a lemonade stand. And it is clearly showing here. This is cut number 7. Go.
If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
I go back to 1975 for this one, folks. One of my favorite quotes ever. Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister, United Kingdom, where she said the following: the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. And that's what's happening now. And again, Mimdani lives in the same world as AOC, as Bernie, as Elizabeth Warren, that, well, you know, if we tax the wealthy, then that's where we could get our money from. They pay for the stuff, the free stuff that we want to give away. And, you know, since they're already millionaires and billionaires, they can afford to give away a little bit more, even though they're paying an astronomical amount of taxes already and covering the tax burden for more than a majority of the rest of the population. We all know this already. I'm not telling you anything you already don't know. But the thing is that so many millionaires, I know them, believe me, have moved out of New York City because it is a hole that begins with S and ends with hit, all right? In terms of, I mean, have you seen these photos throughout New York City? Where, all right, the snow is starting to melt, thank God, 3 weeks later. Wasn't removed very well. Then underneath it, there are feces everywhere, all over the sidewalks, when there aren't rats. 7 weeks this guy did this in, and doesn't even know how to remove snow. And then when the snow is removed by Mother Nature, then you have crap all over the sidewalks. You vote for crap, you get crap, literally, in this case. And all those millionaires and billionaires that are going down to South Florida, that are going to Dallas because they're building a stock exchange there. If I hear one more person that I know, hey, I'm moving to Nashville, oh, I know. Because those 3 states have something in common, Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. There's no income tax. Why wouldn't you move there? And in a world where, put it this way, where am I right now? Key Largo, Florida, okay? Just like, what was it, Bogey and, who was it again? I should know. Look, that song's from the 70s, okay? The Key Largo song. Either way, it's really, really nice here, all right? Bogey and Bacall, right? Just like Bogey and Bacall. All right. There's even a Bogey's Cafe here, believe it or not. Granted, it's in the Holiday Inn. But still, I'm going off on a tangent. The point is, I am doing this show from Key Largo. Wow. That's cool. My hotel room. It sounds like I'm in a New York studio because now with technology, you can kind of work wherever you want. Yesterday alone, I got up 5 a.m. and did Fox and Friends first, not from a New York studio at Fox headquarters at 48th and 6th. I did that from my basement, like I do almost everything else that I do for Fox outside of shows like Outnumbered and Big Weekend Show and so on. All that said, all right, so I'm on national TV at 5:30. I'm in a car going to the airport by 5:40 a.m. I then fly to Miami, and while I'm flying to Miami, I write my column for the Washington Examiner, where I am a senior writer. I then send the column to my editor, and we go back and forth for a little bit in terms of a little tweak here and there that you'd normally do in writing. And now today, that column is running on WashingtonExaminer.com. Then we drive from Miami to Key Largo, and then after, let's see, doing the kids thing in the pool, throwing around the football, let's see, doing a little walk down the bay here, watching a beautiful sunset, by the way. I have an awesome picture at Joe Concha TV if you are on the Twitter. All right, then after that, after we go to dinner at a place called Skipper's, where a woman asked me for my autograph as I was going to the bathroom on a napkin. I can't remember the last time I wrote anything on a napkin, but she wanted an autograph and a note to her husband. Do you have a business card or something? Can we get a menu over here? I'll sign that. No, it's on the napkin. Anyway, so that was kind of funny. But then after dinner, then there's a van waiting for me outside my hotel. It's a studio van that could drive anywhere, basically, from different cities. And then I was on Jesse Waters Primetime. Kelly McEnany was guest hosting at 8:50 p.m. And then at 9 o'clock, there was this show, Concha at Night, from 9 to 10. The point is that I don't need to be somewhere to work. Mimdani doesn't seem to grasp this little development of technology in the 21st century. So if I am rich and I live in New York City, why the hell would I stay here with these income taxes through the roof? With property taxes, he's threatening, and it's going to happen, going to go up at least another 10% on top of how high they are already second highest in the country behind ding, 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 New Jersey, where I live. What the hell am I staying there for that matter? Well, my kids are in school, and I can't exactly pull them out and say, all right, start your life all over again. They've kind of ensconced themselves in sports and different community stuff. And all right, the move will have to wait until after we're in college, and that's in the 2030s before I go off on a tangent. The point is that all that money, whatever is remaining in New York City, if you are remotely smart and you have anything resembling money, not just millionaires and billionaires, but small businesses, get the hell out of here. And it's already happening. New York City cops have been leaving en masse for places like Florida, where they're incentivized to do so. And they weren't called by mayors of cities there racist, all of them, and anti-queer, like Mimdani has in the past. It's literally on his Twitter feed. And what? Oh, he suddenly had this, what do they call it again? It's not flip-flop on the Democratic side. You evolve. Yes. Oh, he's evolved now on the New York City Police Department. No, he hates them all, and they know it. And that's why how long ago was this? About a week ago, where a guy tried to stab a New York City police officer. Police officer was trying to execute a warrant at this person's apartment. The guy kept coming at him with a knife, and 9 times the cop said, drop the knife, and he wouldn't. So the cop was forced to shoot him. And what does Mimdani do? Gets up on stage, right, in front of the press and says that the victim here actually isn't the NYPD officer who was charged at with a knife. It was the person who was shot because he tried to kill the NYPD officer. Can you believe that? And then visited the guy in the hospital and said he doesn't belong in handcuffs. He needs help from the city. No, he needs to be incarcerated. You idiot. Oh, and you still have now, let's see if I'm doing the math, 3 years and 50 weeks. No, 50. I'm going to do my math right. 45 weeks of this guy running the city. Trust me, after what he's done in 7 weeks, that'll pretty much finish it off. And then he's going to go beg Trump for more money. He will. Absolutely, without question. The federal government has to bail us out. And if they don't, they're turning their backs. This is what Mimdani will say. Trump is turning his back on blacks and on Latinos and on Muslims and all the people that he hates. And he wants to see them suffer. That's exactly the excuse he's going to give. And the stupid media New York Times will probably echo it. Yeah, he has a point. Oh, anyway, this is Joe Concha. This has been the Mimdani opening block. Sorry, had a lot to get off my chest with that guy. And we'll be back with so much more on Concha at Night in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, there was a time when a gal named Jemele Hill was actually the co-anchor of SportsCenter, 6 p.m. Anchor Jemele Hill. You all know her now as the biggest race baiter on the planet, this side of Joy Reid, Don Lemon, and Abby Phillip. Well, this former sports anchor since has become a huge activist on the Democratic side, and she is going after her former colleague in Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. is still at ESPN and is the highest paid guy there by a country mile, and is on basically, I mean, we always say this about Brian Kilmeade in the most affectionate way. I mean, it's the highest compliment. The guy is always on the air. He is constantly working. He does, Kilmeade, for Fox, 3 hours of Fox and Friends in the morning, which means you got to get up at least at, I don't know, because he's out on Long Island, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. All right, then there's 3 hours of morning TV, which that's a lot of juggling. You got to do a lot of different stuff and prep for a lot of different things. After that, then he goes on the air after that show immediately for 3 hours on WABC here in New York, for example, and syndicated around the country from 9 to 12. And then he also has a weekend show on Fox as well. And then, oh, by the way, fills in for people like Jesse Waters in prime time. And then you'll see him back on the next day. Huge compliment. Stephen A., same thing. The guy is everywhere on ESPN, and that's why they pay him what they do. But now he's thinking of going into politics as a Democrat, which when you listen to him speak, he sounds a lot like, you know, a guy who is more of a Republican, but let's call him a centrist, I guess. Anyway, here is Jemele Hill going off on her coworker because Stephen A. apparently his candidacy is a big no-no to the point where he is a threat to democracy. Does this sound familiar? This is cut number 5. Go.
If I'm the Democrats, given Stephen A.'s name recognition and his constant ability to attract audience, to speak in sound bites, to debate, the Democrats need to take him seriously. He's a threat. If you're a Democrat that wants to run for president, or if you as the party in general don't want someone like Stephen A.'s popularity or people to start paying more attention to his politics, then you nip this in the bud. You start taking him seriously.
Look, I wouldn't take Stephen A. Smith too seriously only because people say, well, Donald Trump didn't have any experience in politics either when he jumped in June 2015 down that golden escalator ride and announced his run for the presidency. The guy at least ran businesses for many, many years and had donated to many, many politicians for many, many years, including Democrats and Republicans. As a builder in New York, that's what you do. So Trump did have executive experience as far as budgets, as far as businesses. Yeah, a couple of bankruptcies along the way. That's what happens when it's, high risk, high reward, but ultimately came out the other side as a billionaire. Now, the point is, Stephen A. doesn't have that kind of background. Stephen A. Played a little college basketball. Then he went into sports journalism as a writer and then eventually got on television and does an exceptional job in terms of making arguments. That doesn't mean that he should be the commander in chief of our armed forces, for example, because then you may have another AOC situation. Now, he could fake it better than AOC can, but at the same time, is he a threat? No. And when you look at how low the bar is on the Democratic side, when your competition is Gavin Newsom, utterly failed governor of California, when it's AOC, and we've talked about her a lot this week, not ready for prime time, not ready for any time of day for that matter. And then you have Pete Buttigieg, a failed mayor of Little South Bend, Indiana. Am I missing anybody? Kamala Harris, sorry. 2024 nominee, doesn't exactly light the world on fire, the human Chernobyl outside of a teleprompter. If that's the competition, well, he could get the nomination. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So on this Wednesday night, the trans shooting list just keeps growing, where we saw what happened Pawtucket, Rhode Island this weekend. A man dressed as a woman went to a kid's hockey game, ice hockey, started shooting up the joint, killed 3 people, including his kid, including his wife. Others are in the hospital right now. And he's trans. And you say, well, Joe, I mean, come on. You can't just automatically assign this as some sort of trend. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can, because the list just keeps growing, folks. And, at some point, we have to see a connection here. And my colleague, Lawrence Jones, Fox and Friends, he says, and I think he's right, I know he's right, actually, that trans people should not have the ability to own a gun. That is a mental illness that is as clear as day, that if you don't know who you are as a gender and you hate yourself that much, where you get yourself mutilated, then you probably shouldn't have a firearm. All right? Nothing to do with transphobia, homophobia, nothing like that. There's something seriously wrong with you if you think that you are a different gender and you actually go through with that process. And then many of those people who go through that process, especially at a young age, then suddenly realize that, oh, this may have been a mistake because there is no do-over. So that's what we're dealing with at this point, guys, as far as trans shooters are concerned. And I could even go through the list here, and it's long, and it just keeps getting longer. And it seems like these things are happening more and more. I talked about Pawtucket in Rhode Island, 3 dead at that hockey game, 3 hurt. Tumbler Ridge, all right? This is in British Columbia, in Canada, 8 dead, 25 hurt. All right, so that's just this year alone. And boy, we're only 7 weeks in. Last year, Minneapolis, 2 dead, 29 hurt. Perry, Idaho, 1 dead, 5 hurt. 2023, Nashville, 6 dead. 2022, Colorado Springs, 5 dead. All right, so it's happening more and more. And when you look back on past years, this was not a thing until recently, at least until AutoPen took over and at least that administration and suddenly started encouraging this stuff. Remember at the White House where there was a trans woman, man, whatever you want to call it, who decided to on the south lawn of the White House, where I was last year with my kids for the Easter egg roll with my wife, my mother-in-law. We took, figured it'd be a nice thing. She's 80, is she it now? I think she looks 56, but I think she's something like 81. I don't know. She's going to kill me for like saying her age on the air. I didn't use a name. It's okay. So as I try to dig myself out of this hole, the point is that we went to the South Lawn. It's just so beautiful. I mean, it's as majestic as it looks on TV. I'd been there before, but to be there with my family is something different altogether. And the fact that we had a trans person on that lawn doing some sort of LGBTQ plus minus exclamation point ceremony going on there, and takes off his or her shirt to show, the how do we put this? The sweater puppets, okay, without the sweater, and was just so happy doing it. Like, yay, here I am at the White House, just disgracing this entire day, the people's house. That was like indicative of the Biden years, because they absolutely encouraged this stuff, hanging a gay pride flag at the White House along with the American flag. I could go on. I'm pretty clear where I am on gay rights. I don't care. I don't care. What I mean by I don't care is I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care who you're sleeping with. I don't care who you marry. And you can say, well, Joe, you're a Catholic. How can you say that? Well, we're well past that exit at this point. You're not going to ban gay marriage. All right. So live with it. I just don't need it thrown in my face every other second. If I got to watch one more HBO show where we have to have the gay storyline, I mean, we get it. Okay. But it's not like a huge part of our society as far as how many gay couples are out there compared to the rest of the country outside of that demographic, if you want to call it that. Yet more and more in the media, they try to make it look like, well, it's really kind of a 50-50 thing between hetero and gay right now in terms of marriages. No, it's not even close. But the media tries to mainstream this stuff as much as possible. But this whole trans thing with these shootings, I'm sorry. If you were a guy and became a girl, your girl became a guy, you shouldn't own a gun. And that's where I come down on that, because you have an absolute mental illness. And I thought that was something that should be, we're going to draw a red line on buying guns from a mental illness perspective. I'd say that absolutely is a very deep red. Meanwhile, AOC, who is a very deep blue politician who I wonder if she'll run for president now. I think this thing in Munich went so badly for her, with the uhs and the ums for an excruciating amount of time when trying to answer that question around what would happen if China were to invade Taiwan. She never considered the scenario even once in her head once, because she's focused on race and clicks and likes and yay, TikTok videos and screaming about racism and taxing the wealthy and fighting the oligarchy while she flies private to the Fight the Oligarchy tour events. Unbelievable, the hypocrisy on her, except it is completely unbelievable. Anyway, I was thinking, well, do we really think that the media would defend AOC on this? Because you just watch, forget China and Taiwan. Don't forget it. That was huge. But saying that Venezuela is below the equator and we shouldn't go in there to get Maduro because it's below the equator. I don't even understand the logic behind it, but Venezuela is not below the equator. For going after Rubio in the snarkiest of fashion when he said that the American cowboy and American cowboys on horses, that actually originated in Spain. Yeah, it did. Read a book. I don't know. And when she accused Israel of carrying out a genocide in Gaza, and she says it on German soil, screw you, dude. I'm pretty sure they carried out the true genocide. Anyway, so not a good performance. The worst ever, perhaps, on a world stage by AOC. And it makes me wonder, like, will she even run for president, or realize, like, this isn't for me? Just be the DNC chair already and be the co-host of The View, and you'll be very, very happy, AOC. All right? You can run around the Bronx as much as possible, tearing down signs of missing hostages over in Gaza that went on for many years. You could go protest at Columbia University freely. Anyway, here is Abby Phillip on CNN, who has currently the 47th ranked show in cable news. And it's not like it's a Kentucky Derby type of list of channels that she's competing with. Literally between Fox News and MS Now and News Nation and CNN, despite being in prime time and getting a lot of love from the media, Abby Phillip, who's a bad combination of Joy Reid meets Jim Acosta meets Don Lemon, defended AOC on that trip when it is the indefensible. It's like defending cancer. But anyway, here she is, cut number 6, go.
So look, I'll give you that AOC probably should have been more ready for that question, but are we going to really pretend that the actual president of the United States has not made similar or perhaps worse flubs on the global stage? Bad answers, bad answers. What do you think should happen to Donald Trump as a result of his bad answers?
What should happen to Donald Trump? I don't know. He got elected twice, maybe 3 times, depending on who you talk to. Abraham Accords, preventing multiple wars or peace agreements between nations that have been at each other's throats for decades. Ending Iran's nuclear program with one mission, Operation Midnight Hammer. Relative peace in Gaza now. NATO paying their fair share finally. Oh, we're going to start questioning his foreign policy chops? Oh, yeah, closing the U.S. southern border. That's foreign policy in the sense where we don't have 12 to 15 million people coming in from other countries anymore, exhausting our social services, and obviously bringing in terrorists into this country, many on the FBI terror watch list. The point is that Abby Phillip to pivot to, but what about Trump? That's your answer? So I'll put up Trump's foreign policy achievements against anybody. Like Reagan, that's about it. You know, as far as if you want like a fair fight in modern politics in terms of successes, he's still got 3 years left. And that's how Abby Phillip defended that disaster over in Munich by going after Trump, because that's what hacks do. Anywho, let's go to this clip, shall we? Because I think it is the coolest ever. And this is actually, we had a question today at the White House press briefing, and it came from a guy named Ed O'Keefe of CBS News. And Ed was once known as the Biden Whisperer. Yes, this guy is in the Biden circle, can let you know exactly what's going through Joe Biden's head, even when Biden had no idea what was going on in his own head. Anyway, here is O'Keefe to the great Caroline Leavitt today in the James S. Brady briefing room during the daily press briefing, asking a question that Caroline could only answer with, "You're kidding, right?" And then we have some receipts behind this as well that we'll play for you. This is cut number 8. Go.
Yesterday, in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right?
No.
I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah. So look, this happened just this afternoon. I'm still compiling clips of this. In other words, I'm going to have to go to John Katzimatidis, who owns WABC, who hired me, and say, "Hey, John, I'm going to need 24 hours tomorrow. So we're going to have to blow out everybody. Maybe give me, I don't know, overnight on a weekend, at least 6. All right, just give me 6. Doesn't matter." Because if you want to go through all the examples of people in the media or Democrats calling Donald Trump a racist, you're going to need hours upon hours of time. And O'Keefe's like, "Can you give an example of when Donald Trump has been falsely accused of racism?" Yeah. Boy, that's like saying, "Can you give an example of Tom Brady throwing a touchdown pass?" Yeah, I think I can find one somewhere. Oh, moron. Anyway, here's one example. Cut number 9, CNN's former anchor, Don Lemon. Go.
This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The President of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that.
Welcome to CNN. The President of the United States is racist. Hey, this isn't an opinion show. I'm just giving you facts. I'm just a serious journalist holding the powerful accountable. Now Don is storming churches and doing ridiculous podcasts from his multi-million-dollar mansion because CNN was dumb enough to pay him 7 figures for all those years. Anyway, let's see. How about any Democrats? Have they ever called Trump a racist? Or, hey, even worse, a neo-Nazi? Gee, I hope I could find something. Oh, yeah, here we go. Cut number 10. Go.
Donald Trump is also very old and a racist and a neo-Nazi.
Oh, there you go. Very racist and a neo-Nazi. And if we could throw in a little Mussolini, a little Stalin, a little Mao, right? Fascist is always good. Authoritarian is a plus. Sure. I mean, we wonder why. I saw, by the way, Brendan Carr today from the FCC talking about Colbert and talking about in general the media. And he says, this is why the media is as trusted as gas station sushi. Now, look, I don't come up with many original lines on my own. I quote a lot of 80s movies, and that's all well and good, and 90s for that matter. But gas station sushi and media is mine, Brendan Carr, okay? All right? Look, I know that this guy watches Fox, and many, many people in Washington do, even Democrats. And I've heard my lines used before, but this was a pretty blatant example. Anyway, the media being as trusted as gas station sushi. I was going somewhere with this, but now I just can't seem to remember what it was. I hate it when this happens. All right, just one more clip. Or actually, Elias, we're going to go to break, okay? As I gather my thoughts, because I'm having a senior moment because it's my birthday this week. And let's just say I'm not 21 anymore. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. My brain is turning applesauce like Joe Biden. Perhaps not. Maybe we just have one of those moments that we could have at any age. And we'll be back with so much more, I hope, in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, let's go through our best cuts of the day. I thought we played several already, but let's get to the good stuff, shall we? As far as Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and I'll say it again, will be president of this country one day. Hey, maybe 2028. And I'm saying that where I think maybe there's a shot that we have a situation. JD Vance has a fourth kid on the way, right? JD is only 40, 41 years old. Maybe he's saying, all right, I want to be around to watch my kids grow up. And maybe I don't, because all the rest of his kids are also very young as well. Maybe he doesn't want to run this time around. And maybe Marco, who has been flawless, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, maybe this is somebody who JD will say, all right, Marco, you take it for 8 years, and then I'll step in before I'm even 50 and run then. I don't know. I could see that happening, 20% chance, but it's probably going to be JD as the nominee, as I've said many times here before. But anyway, here is Marco talking about how no one is entitled, and that's the key word, to a visa in this country. Cut number 2, go.
I've said this repeatedly. I don't know why it's so hard for some to comprehend it, so let me repeat it again. A visa, no one's entitled to a visa. There is no constitutional right to a visa. Okay, a visa is a permission to enter our country as a visitor. If you enter our country as a visitor, and as a visitor in our country, be it a student, a tourist, a journalist, whatever you want to be, and you undertake activities that are against the national interest, the national security of the United States, we will take away your visa. In fact, if we knew you were going to do it, we probably wouldn't have given you your visa.
Boom, bang, game, set, match. I would love to see Marco Rubio or JD Vance against AOC on a debate stage in a presidential debate. I mean, you want to charge, I used to pay like $50 to go see Mike Tyson fight, the old pay-per-view. I would go way higher than that, like, I don't know, kids' college fund type of thing, because it would be that ugly. Anyway, let's talk about AOC again, because I think this is really telling. This goes on for about 2 minutes. But again, you want this person to be president of the United States if you're a Democrat? You think she's so exciting? And forget even for president. Let's say vice president. Newsom says, all right, I got to pick a woman because that's how Democrats think. And I need a woman of color. And I need somebody who's really popular on social media, who could be really snarky like Tim Walz. Well, this is what you're going to get. Here is AOC on CNN during a town hall. They used to give her these primetime town halls. They will again. Of course they will. Talking about how the GOP and conservatives in general think that women, or if you're gay, that you're Republican, you think these people are all inferior, because this is the mindset of somebody who lives in a liberal bubble and has never, ever escaped it. Cut number 12, go.
And it is clear to communicate that as an individual. Now, to the question earlier as well, when they talk about Republicans and their success online, they have been successful because they have also been very clear, especially digitally, about what they believe. That women are inferior, that they do not deserve equal rights, that they believe that LGBTQ Americans are subhuman. And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature to divide us. And why to divide us? So that the same people who own those platforms, people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, that these people can continue to get away with highway robbery in tax cuts and in order to fleece all of our pockets, cut our health care, keep our wages low so that we remain fighting amongst ourselves while they make themselves richer. And
okay, Les, I think we get it.
To fight back against
all right. Even I couldn't take that anymore. So again, this is the messaging. Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and all the rich guys are trying to steal from the poor, and I'm here to protect you. I'm here to protect your health care. I'm here to do all these things, but I have no idea how I'm going to pay for it or how I'm going to accomplish giving away all the free stuff, just like Mimdani. Anyway, this has been Concha at Night. Thank you so much to Elias, my producer. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're back tomorrow night for another edition. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.